So what if I told you that someone with no real estate investing experience could have a major advantage over people who have been doing it for 10 years? Not because of money, not because of connections, but pretty much all because of AI. So today you're going to learn how AI is becoming the secret weapon for new investors, and you can start using it immediately, even for your first deal. Welcome back to Branching Out, where real estate meets real life. I am here with Ken Styron, a mentee and friend of ours. He works in insurance by day. He was a mentee by night, and he is actively hunting his first deal. We actually went and just looked at one prior to being here. So thank you so much for being here and teaching us today all about AI.
Well, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to teach you, but I'd be happy to share with you. And thank you for having me today. I appreciate that.
Of course. Well, you were the first one of our mentees, or I think actually you're one of the first people that reached out to us after you took our course and was like, are you guys using AI? Because I have all these cool models that we really need to talk about. So I'm excited to have you here today and talk about all those things, because that is going to be super helpful for our listeners, because AI really is the way the world's going.
It's definitely adding a lot to different spaces, and some of it's good, some of it's not great, but it does give you an advantage in a lot of cases.
Yeah, for sure. So even before we start talking about AI, let's talk about what got you interested in real estate investing. Was there a specific moment? Let's talk about that first.
Wow. So we're going to rewind a couple of years, all the way back to college, actually. So I'm a curious individual by nature. And one of our requirements was we had to take, I think, a real estate class in college.
Oh,
and
interesting.
I thought it was fascinating. So ever since then, I've been enthralled with real estate and, getting involved with that. Unfortunately, lots of moving around and different things with work has prevented me from really diving in too deep, because we lived in the Northeast for a while, and quite honestly, I didn't want to own real estate in the Northeast. So, but overall, I would say it really kind of goes right back to college and getting really interested. I love the concept, the process, and that's really where it started.
All right. So what got you here? How did you meet Greg, first of all? Because that's the reason you're here. You took our course. Let's talk about that.
So, Greg and I go way back. We actually started a Boy Scout troop together.
Okay.
I was attending a church, and they decided they wanted to open a Boy Scout troop or start a Boy Scout troop. And someone convinced me that I needed to go to the informational session. And I remember as I walked out the door saying, I'll be back in a bit, to my wife. She goes, don't volunteer for anything yet. And I was like, not a problem. It's not like I'm going to be the Scoutmaster. And fast forward a couple of hours later, I came back and said, hey, I'm the Scoutmaster. By the way, I met this other guy, Greg, and we're going to be co-Scoutmasters. So he and I literally started a troop from scratch built the entire program. So
Okay. And then I'm sure from your talks with him that piqued your interests on real estate investing even more so than it already was from your college course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Greg and I talked a lot about his business and different things. And I was always intrigued, and he used to bounce ideas and thoughts off of me as well. And so, yeah, it's always been a fascination of mine. Definitely very analytical mindset. So I don't mind looking at things and kind of giving opinions. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're very analytical. He's very analytical. So between the two of you, you're going to analyze every which way of any kind of deal. That's funny. So you went through our course, you did our in-person session. Yeah. And so what changed for you after going through that?
Well, I think going through the course definitely kind of helped dispel some of those things of, well, I'm not sure that I'm going to be ready because I don't know this or I don't know that. And I think after going through the course, I was armed with enough knowledge to be able to go, okay, even if I make a mistake, the likelihood of it being catastrophically costly isn't there anymore. it's like all things, mistakes are mistakes, and sometimes they cost you, and the whole goal is to mitigate so that they aren't as costly. So after the class, I've kind of felt like, okay, no matter what, I think I know enough now that I'm not going to make a mistake that's going to be catastrophic. And then also just knowing that I had the support structure with Branch to be able to kind of go, okay, if you don't know, just call us and we'll kind of talk through a few things and kind of get, give you a little bit more perspective. So that was really the comfort level for me.
Well, that's awesome, because on our board here, coaching brings clarity and confidence, which is exactly what it did for you without you even knowing that was there.
Absolutely.
So you went through and now you're like, okay, I'm going to be a real estate investor. When did you introduce real estate investing with AI? Like, when did those combine and how did they combine?
So I've been very intrigued with AI, and I use it quite a bit in my other little life job there. So I use a lot of it there. And as I continue to look at things there, started to kind of correlate, hey, these kinds of things can translate over into other areas. And as I started thinking about real estate, I think the piece that really got me kicked off was starting to look at and doing deal analysis. If you follow the traditional pen and paper method, and it could take you hours. And I was like, I don't have hours to do some of this stuff. Started to think about, like, what's a better, quicker, faster way to do this? I need more of a back of the napkin style process, because, so much of your time is spent, and I hate to use the term kicking tires, but kicking tires where you're looking at something and going, okay, well, can we make this work? Can we make this work? And, I think as we talked about in the class, it may take 100 deals to find the one. And it's so true, right? I mean, you look at so many different things, and a lot of that is you are looking at it, you're understanding, but you're doing the analysis, and the analysis says, no, this isn't it. So AI really has allowed me now to condense that couple hours down into, in some cases, it takes 5 minutes to run a complete analysis, to even have enough information to say, is this worth, spending 10 more minutes on, or no?
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting. I feel like everyone now knows what AI is. And people may have their preconceived notions of it or use it in certain ways. I think a lot of people are using it as a way to, do their homework, write a paper, write a resume. So what kind of got you stumbling upon, like, oh, I can use this for real estate? Like, what did you do first with AI that you were like, oh, it can do this. Oh, okay. If it can do this, then it can do this. Like, what was that domino effect?
So I think probably for me was, and it's kind of funny, I guess. Some of the first applications of AI for me was when we would write thank you notes or things like that to send, or I was at a volunteering somewhere, and one of the things they had asked is, can you write some kind of letter of encouragement for the particular group we were there sponsoring? And I was like, I know I can do this, but I have 10 minutes to do this, and I really would like to make my words to be impactful. So I was like, I think I can use ChatGPT to do it, and plugged it in, and it actually came up with this really awe-inspiring kind of, note to be able to share with people. And that was where I was really kind of hooked. And I was like, okay, I can continue to build from this.
Yeah, for sure. So then what was the first thing besides that? What was the first thing you asked it to do for real estate investing?
So the first thing I asked it to do was run some numbers for me. And it was a terrible prompt. It was a terrible prompt. I mean, I've gotten way better at it now, but I mean, it was something ridiculously simple, like, hey, the asking price on this property is X, and, here's some of my basic parameters. Tell me how this maps out. And it just kind of ran some of the basic math. But the good part about it is, AI is continually evolving in itself, and its goal to always help you be better because it likes to be a people person to help you grow. And the first thing after it did that was like, hey, but also, would you also like me to go and look at this for you or do this? And that kind of started to prompt me down the road of like, hey, you know what am I not including? What do I not know? And starting to include that in my request from it. And it's really just kind of built out from there.
I love when GPT does that. Put something in, I get my prompt. So when you say prompt, you're basically like paragraph that you put into GPT at first, and you're like, hey, I want to do this, this, and this, and with these criteria and this kind of tone. That's your prompts.
Yep.
Okay. And then, I've noticed that after I put that in, it gives me a whole thing, and it encourages you at the beginning too. It's like, oh, this is a great idea.
Yes. Yes.
And then at the end, it'll be like, okay, well, you didn't ask this, this, and this, or do you want to elaborate on this part? And then you just, like you said, add more prompts, and that's pretty cool. So what was the first thing that kind of like blew your mind, or even to this day, like what about AI in regards to real estate investing and those prompts have you been like, oh my gosh?
So I've been playing with it for a while now. And I think the thing that really blew my mind was I started playing around with, how can I use this to help me find properties?
Oh, tell us more.
So I came up with this prompt and outlined the parameters that I was looking for, my investment strategy. And it actually started going and trolling Zillow and Realtor and a few other sites, and would look at all the different properties that were available. And I actually leveraged some of the strategies that we talked about in class where, I not to get too specific with it, but I mean, it was interesting because I was like, hey, find me this kind of property, something that's been listed for over 100 days. And it falls inside of these parameters. And then if I were to offer 50% less than asking, what does that look like? And does it meet these other financial parameters, et cetera? And it actually went through and trolled all that. And then I set it up to do a daily run, and it ran it against all the listings. And I would get a list of properties that met those requirements every day. And some days it would come back and say nothing new. Yeah. Other days it would, obviously come back and give me an idea of, hey, look at these. And, you go and you look at them and you're like, oh yeah. And then some of them you're like, yeah, that still doesn't fit, but at least gave you a start point to understand like where you might grab it. So that was the fun one that I've found.
Yeah, that is smart. Have you looked at like for sale by owners, like set a prompt for like, hey, for sale by owners in this area? Because that would be a good one.
I have not, but that would be easy enough to throw in there.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Or plotting courses around foreclosures. Like I did I did a weekend class when I first got into real estate investing. I paid all the money on all the things and did a weekend course on how to find distressed properties. And basically what we did is we went to the class and we looked up all the foreclosures in these certain areas around certain price points. And then we plotted courses around those foreclosures and knocked on doors around there. So, I mean, I'm sure AI could
that would
help
absolutely work that because so slightly off topic, right? So we just went to, we just took the family on vacation, and I used ChatGPT to plan the entire vacation. And part of that is it has a mapping function where it actually will pin things for you in Google Maps. So you could do exactly what you're talking about, where have it give you the most efficient route to do your door knocking.
Wow. You're not a planner at all, are you?
Just a little bit.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've been using it to find the deals, analyze the deals.
Yep.
Running numbers. I mean, what else have you been pulling comps?
Yeah. So that's been one of the other evolution components, that I started to bring in is, looking at and analyzing the deals, and you get it back and you go, okay, this could work. Then you start to go, I'm inexperienced in this space, so I don't know what rent should be, right? And that's the hard one, right? You look at something and you go, well, what should I be able to get for rent for this? So I said, oh, well, I bet my friend Chat Geppetto can help me out with that. So started throwing that in there, and it actually will go out and it'll find comps for rent. It'll find comps for properties. It'll give you information back, from like the fair housing. So it'll give you those comps as well. So you can actually start to understand like what is a reasonable price point. So as you're evaluating some of these, you can understand like, is it below market? Is it above market? Is it, at market? And kind of understand what your room may be, because obviously that ultimately affects your analysis too. Because if you're at top of market, then you're going to go, I don't really have anywhere to go from here. So the wiggle room aspect of I need X for later is probably, not going to happen. So
yeah, I use it a ton for comps. I think that's great. And then you prompt it. You're like, all right, this is my subject. It has 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, this many square feet. Show me everything within a 5-mile radius. And I've done that for listings. I've done that for buyers, done that for rents comparables. And it's funny, I actually was talking to a client and we were both doing it at the same time. And then we compared. I don't know if she used ChatGPT or not. She didn't tell me and I didn't tell her. But she was like, I have the exact same comps. And I'm like, I hope you didn't use ChatGPT and you Googled that, because then that's like a really good kind of comparison. Like, hey, I did mine in 2 seconds.
Even if she did, the likelihood of ChatGPT giving both of you the same answer is really minimal.
Oh, interesting.
It is amazing how you can sit down and be side by side. I mean, I would even say, if I gave you my prompt and we both put in the same address, it would come back mostly the same, but it's not likely that it's going to be the same.
I think we were off by one house. Like she had one that I didn't have, but I had one that she didn't have. And other than that, they were virtually the same.
But
which is pretty cool.
I would definitely challenge you if you could take it even further and you set up your own, your own comp prompt. I mean, that would probably be the right way to do it. Set up your own comp prompt. And you could do something as simple. And this is how the efficiency has come for me. Like at this point, I don't do anything in the way I built mine other than type in the address and say, go.
So when you say built yours, so I know that you can you have ChatGPT that's free, or you buy it and I don't know if you pay for it, but you set up an account and then it learns you and knows you. So when you say you built it, does that mean that you have put in so many prompts and have asked it to do so many things in a certain way that it knows when you ask it a question to answer it in a certain way? Or do you actually have formulas within ChatGPT or ChatGPT or whatever you name it? Do you have a name for it?
My wife and I love to call it ChatGPT. I don't know why, we just do. I think it's funny, and that's probably the whole reason. It gives us a chuckle every time we talk about it. But and it distinguishes because she has gone on a tangent. I'm trying to focus, but so she's now on Gemini and which is Google's product, as well as Grok and a bunch of other different ones.
Perplexity.
And I've tried.
I like Perplexity.
Yeah, Perplexity is a great
ChatGPT
one.
is better than Perplexity, though, I think.
It is a good one. So it really just depends. I mean, I would say go where you feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, to answer your question, yes, I pay for mine. And just to give everybody clarification on paying versus not paying. If you don't pay, you get only so many searches that you can do in a defined time period.
Oh, interesting.
That are complex.
Okay.
It'll give you infinite, hey, what color, how cold is it outside? Da, 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 da. But you're not getting that in depth of where it would go on a tangent of it's 32 degrees outside because the pressure's high and da, 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 da. You're not getting that. You're not getting the in-depth analysis. That's what I want. I want in-depth. So I do pay for it. And with that, you get basically an indefinite number of thinking prompts is what I call it. I mean, and I think that's what they reference it as well. It actually thinks. So it's not an instantaneous response. It may take, instantaneous, and I'm going to say it may take 10 or 15 seconds, but it may take 10 or 15 seconds or a minute, depending upon how detailed you've gotten. So the big thing is keep in mind, it's machine learning, right? It's learning. So to your point, you set up an account, and I continually tell ChatGPT how I want it to think for me as it's going through things. So I probably at this point have I don't know, a couple of hundred reviews of properties that I put in. And every time you do something, you go back and you change, you'd be like, hey, I really like that. And I know this is crazy. Think of it like you're talking to a child.
Mm-hmm.
Praise it when it's doing things that you want it to do.
Thank you, please.
And it remembers that. It does. And I know it's crazy to think about, but it does. Praise it for what you want it to do. Kind of correct it when it doesn't, because sometimes it'll go through and it'll do something and you're like, hey, you know, that's not right. We talked about this, da 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 da. And you make that correction and it'll automatically go, oh, you're right. And it'll restructure things and it'll do it kind of the way you were thinking about it. But the beauty of it too is you can continually teach it how you want to learn, because as you learn, you can help it model and it restructures the model for you. So, you know, I think we were talking about the property we were looking at earlier today, and I was like, oh, you know, I have set parameters in mind for insurance and taxes and all these other things. And I found out today the property was like, oh, well, this one's probably going to be a little bit more expensive to insure because it's got certain, you know, exposures, et cetera. Sorry, the insurance side of me coming out here. But so I went in and told it, hey, by the way, use this as my model for insurance for this one. Mm-hmm. And it instantaneously reset the whole thing based on that. But it learns as you go. So that's where I was saying it gets to that point where as you teach it things, it really comes down to all I have to do is put the address in now, and it'll go out. It'll pull the GIS card. It'll come back and tell me what the square footage is of the property. I don't have to look it up. It'll tell me. It'll tell me what the taxes are on it. It'll give me automatically what the rents are. It'll give me the DCRSR or DSCR. It'll automatically give me that calculation. If I don't tell it what the asking price is, it'll tell me what it thinks that the potential value of it is, et cetera. And this is all now because I continually prompt it. So one of the big things is you set your prompt up first. So, you know, you're sitting down, you write out, here's all the things that are important to me. So I have my own like investment parameters. All you have to do is define it once. And it remembers it, and you can make adjustments as you go. So, you know, if you want a, 7% cap rate, then say 7% is my standard. But if you go, oh, well, I'm willing to go to 6, and it'll restructure based on that deal. But it remembers that your set parameters is 7. So even if I put in the next one, it's not automatically going to think 6.5 or 6. It's going to go back to 7 unless I tell it, hey, going forward, I want you to use this as my standard baseline.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, that's perfect for people like me who I'm not a big math person. I'm on the social side. So that's super helpful. And then as you were talking, you said that you have used our repair estimator. So that also is probably super helpful after you go and view the property and you're like, okay, it's probably going to need a new HVAC in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's going to need this and it's going to need this. Like, get me a quote, an estimate without having contractors and everything go out there to help you make your offer. Do you use it in that way? Cause that would be great.
So it's funny you say that, because that's actually the next kind of, I'll say revision or model that I'm going to bring in is take and load that into ChatGPT as a knowledge base, because you can actually load documents and things like that. So I mean, in theory, if you wanted to go really crazy, right, you could take all the things that we learned at Branch, because we do have all those wonderful PowerPoints and all the things that you teach. You could actually load that into ChatGPT and say, hey, use this as my intelligence base. And it'll reference back all of those things as it goes through, and obviously get smarter as you get smarter, et cetera. But, another way to kind of help, put your baseline in there so that you are minimizing your mistakes. But yeah, so that's my goal now is to input the updated cost estimator that you guys have come out with in there, and start to utilize that to say, hey, tell me, and as I go out now, I'll come back and go, okay, this one needs new windows, it needs gutters, it needs this. Factor that into the calculation.
Yeah, what's the going rate for Cabarrus County? And just puts them there. It's genius. So AI basically is like having your own free or minimally priced assistant to
Yes.
help you do everything.
100%.
It's genius. All right, so let's talk about how exact ways that Ken uses AI. So if I opened up your Chat GPT right now, what would I see you asking it?
Oof, a bunch of stuff. So I do use it to draft emails and things like that, to make them professional or personal, et cetera. I use it to plan trips and vacations and things like that, because again, it gives you the opportunity to find things that you wouldn't normally go and find yourself and not spend the amount of time, hours doing it. So that, obviously the property searches stuff, I use it to make myself sound much smarter for my kids when they come and ask me all kinds of crazy questions from school now. So I'm like, oh, yep, let me see what that looks like. And it's a great way to refresh yourself. Sometimes use it as a chat bot. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but when you want to bounce an idea off of someone, ChatGPT can actually do that for you. You can use it to chat kind of like a counterpoint to you and kind of bounce ideas off of that. Ask it, hey, what am I missing? What am I not doing? And it'll give you those kinds of insights too.
Yeah.
And it's all private.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So how has it helped your confidence? Like, you haven't officially done a deal yet, but you're very close. So how has it helped you, like, get you that clarity and build that confidence for you?
So I think the piece that it's really made me more confident now is I'm able to see the numbers. It's much easier to run them and understand them. And, working with the team at Branch, verifying that, hey, I'm not crazy when I'm looking at some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it does make me feel a lot more comfortable with it and making quicker decisions. So sometimes you can get analysis paralysis. And I think ChatGPT is helping me overcome that, to really kind of just say, okay, the numbers are the numbers. And, gives you, in my case, it gives me 3 or 4 recommendations. And, as long as you pick one of them, then you're pretty in the safe lane. Yeah.
The numbers are the numbers. You never want to get emotionally involved. That's just being a real estate investor. And people can literally start using AI tonight to help them.
100%.
Like, this is something like you're going to take into immediate action. And if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, I really need to learn more about this. This is exactly what we teach. This is exactly what we coach. So, love this. So do you now feel like you have an unfair advantage over other investors with using AI? I mean, it seems like you do in a way.
I wouldn't necessarily say unfair, because it's an equal opportunity.
It's true.
Everyone has the same opportunity to learn. But yes, I do feel like at the end of the day, I have probably an easier path than most, just from the standpoint of, by using AI, it makes things simpler and easier for me. So, if you want to call it an unfair advantage, I guess, but, it does give me the opportunity to evaluate. I mean, an example of how I've been using it too is, like, I literally will be driving down the road and you'll see a for sale sign or whatever. And I'm like, plug that in and boom, I have all the information pulled up, and it does a deal analysis for me as I'm pulled over safely on the side of the road, letting it do its work.
Yeah. And you drive a car that drives itself, so you're safe, even safer. So how much faster do you think, like, than the average person who's not using AI? Like, how much time is this saving you, do you think?
I mean, it's definitely saving hours.
Yeah.
It's definitely saving hours, because I know even some of the deals that we've worked on together, we'll talk through things and get suggestions, and then, within 10 minutes, I'm ready to make a decision, because I'm able to just process it that fast. Versus if I actually had to put pen and paper and redo all the calculations and redo everything, it could be an hour or 2.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds like a major confidence booster, like we've talked about already. It's like, all right, you put all the information in, you gave it all the prompts, you looked at all the comps. So, when you're making an offer, like, you are giving like a good general range, and it shouldn't offend the seller, because you're like, hey, I've done all the research. Like, this is my math, did it in 2 seconds. But, like, this is it. You don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah, and I have used that. I mean, that's actually part of one of the prompt aspects is telling the seller why I'm offering what they're offering, because some of, I'll be the first to say some of the ones in my mind, I'm like, this is kind of a ludicrous number, but at the same token, I'm going, the math is the math. I can't make it make any other sense than this, and if this is an investment property, I can't pay any more than this in order for this to work.
I mean, and then I think sellers understand that. Smart sellers who are investors, they are going to get that, and they're going to look at your math and be like, you know what? He's actually right. And they either think that and they're like, okay, cool. He backed it up. I understand that. I have some wiggle room. I can do that. Or they're like, no, I'm going to wait for someone dumb 100%. Who isn't going to do the math. And they're like, oh, it feels right. I'm just going to do that. Like that. Yeah. That must be what those types of investors are looking for, that just completely overprice their properties. They'll let it sit for a year. And it's like, well, what do you do? I mean, I guess it's cash flowing and they don't really need to sell it, but it's very interesting.
Everybody has their own motivation, 100%.
For sure. All right, let's give our listeners some advice.
Okay.
So, what would you tell someone listening who hasn't bought a deal yet and feels behind?
I think the easiest, quickest thing I would say is, figure out your plan first, which is the key component that I learned in the class. Put your plan together, write it down, have it in front of you, understand what you're wanting to do, and stick to it. Don't deviate from your plan. Stick with where you start and kind of work it through. As you get smarter and get better, feel free to fluctuate, but stick with your initial plan. And that's what's working for me.
It's true. You should know your strategy. You know how much time you have versus how much cash you have. So then you put your strategy together, and I think you're exactly correct. Like, that's already been, you figured that out. So now work your plan around that and build your confidence and use AI.
Right.
So for these new investors who are looking for their deals and they have their strategy and they haven't been using AI, what would you tell them to do right now in AI, ChatGPT?
I mean, the simplest thing, you can start with just the most simplest prompt. And, something as easy as thinking of going, okay, what are you looking for? So act as a tenured real estate professional. I think the first one I used where I actually got smart about it was, consider yourself a 30-year real estate professional.
You tell ChatGPT to look from that lens.
Yep. So what you're trying to do is, I use the RICE method, and forgive me because I can't remember all the points of the process, but basically what you're doing is you're profiling how you want ChatGPT to think about itself. So when it's answering you, it's thinking in this light. So the first thing you're saying is, be a real estate professional that's done this for years. Okay. So think smart. And then, also act as a deal underwriting analyst. Okay. So very simple prompt. Act as a 30-year real estate investor with a, underwriting mindset.
A degree in engineering. You worked at NASA.
Whatever. You could be the rocket man, I guess. So you put that in there, and then it's as simple as doing the simple things. Here's the house I'm looking at. So put the address in, put the square footage in, put in, what you know about it, and then basically give me a 1-page analysis, and you'll be amazed of how quickly it pulls all this together and gives you just that start point. Because it'll do all the math for you. And all your job is to check it and make sure it's right. Because I will be the first to say, it is not always right. Okay. ChatGPT can be a pleaser. So it may tell you things sometimes that,
it's a great deal.
Right. So
is it though?
that's where setting some of your own personal parameters up front. So if you have those, and you've already outlined your personal parameters, you put those in, and it is going to tell you whether it's deviating from those or not. But to start out, be simple. Go real simple. Act as a real estate professional. Here's the opportunity I'm looking at, and go from there. It's that simple. And then you can get cute and start adding more and more and more and more.
Yeah. I love it. I use it all the time. It's awesome. I tried to fight it in the beginning, but then I'm like, you know what? It's just like the ordering ahead. I used to fight that. I fought that forever because I would be standing in line at like Starbucks and they'd be making all these other orders. And these people would just be coming in and picking it up. And I'm like, oh, I would never do that. And then I started doing it and I'm like, oh, okay, well.
Same.
I
I'm like, yeah, you guys are standing in line. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to just
I'm not going to. I'm actually going to stand in line and order my coffee and I'm still going to beat you.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably makes them really mad. But all right, Ken, we're in our fun segment of the 5-minute fast fire. So I'm going to get our little timer out here and I'm going to ask you 5 fun questions. Don't overthink them to answer in a minute or less. And we'll just have to get it done in less than 5 minutes, which it'll be fine. It'll be a breeze. No overthinking, no analytics here. Okay.
Oh, that's going to be hard.
All right. I'm going to start the timer. Okay. First question. What is one AI prompt that every investor should try tonight?
I'm going to go right back to what we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Go in there and just type in something really simple. Act as a real estate investor and evaluate this address for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just leave it at that.
Yeah.
See what you see. It'll amaze you. I promise.
Yeah. Cause it's going to give you something and then you'll be able to continue asking it questions anyway. So
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What's a mistake that new investors make that AI can fix?
So I think for me, and this kind of goes right back to the value of the class and kind of restructuring and setting a good baseline. The numbers are the numbers are the numbers. And AI will help you stick to your parameters and numbers because it's not going to fudge the numbers for you where, you can sit there and start to try to mentally justify something
mm-hmm.
when you're doing it yourself.
I just love it. I just love
right.
to have it.
You let emotion come in. There is no emotion in it. So that to me that's the ultimate. The numbers are the numbers are the numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. What's one app that you can't live without?
I love my Audible.
Mm-hmm.
I love to listen to books. I'm an audio learner.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I learn. That's how it works for me. So just listening and talking and going through, then I have a ridiculous retention when it comes to audio.
Oh, bonus question that wasn't on my list, but since you said Audible, what's your favorite real estate investing book?
I just finished listening to Rich Dad, Poor Dad for I remember reading it in college and I just listened to it again. I was forcing my children to listen to it with me in the car and that didn't go over very well, but I loved it. But yeah, I just finished listening to it and it's funny listening to it 10, 15 years later, how it just still resonates and really kind of reaffirms like, hey, maybe you've been thinking about things a little bit off.
Mm-hmm. That was the first book that I read that got me into real estate investing. I think Robert Kiyosaki needs to start paying us because we literally talk about this in every show. So if you're listening, actually, I'll see you next week. So I'm going to bring that up. All right. Coffee, tea, or energy drinks? What keeps you going and deal hunting?
Ooh. So, the ironic thing is I don't think any of that stuff drives me per se, but man, I do love a good diet sun drop.
Oh,
so
okay.
sun drop. And then if I'm feeling especially British that day, then I'm drinking my tea.
What kind of tea? English breakfast?
English breakfast, just about that or, Earl Grey. One of the two, but yeah,
those are two very different flavors.
A good black tea is all good for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to agree with that. I like that. All right. What's one belief that you had before taking our real estate course that's now gone?
Oh, wow. That one's a tough one. So
it was a debunked myth that you had in your head.
I think the biggest thing for me kind of taking away is you don't have to know everything. And that's always been a challenge for me is I like to know all the angles. And I think taking the class really kind of helped me step back and go, look, you don't have to know all the angles, just the right angles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the component that probably changed for me as I finished the class was understanding what are the right angles to think about and, not getting too wrapped up in you have to know everything.
Yeah, for sure. Where are we at? Oh, 53 seconds to spare.
Beautiful.
Nice job, Ken. Thank you for
Thanks.
being here today. This was super informative. And I think you're actually speaking at our deep dive in April. So that
Yes.
will be great. I think me and Jessica were talking about it earlier. That should be one of those where we plug your laptop into the TV and do like some prompting and
Oh,
really
man.
showing people how it's done
I don't
type day,
know.
training day.
I don't know.
We've never done that before.
I don't know
think
if I
that'd
want
be
to be
awesome.
that proprietary. That's tough, but yes,
You'll have to sign another release, maybe.
if everybody comes out, I will definitely be going through prompting. I will absolutely share some of the prompts and things that I've already set up and put together, because that is actually one of the beauties of ChatGPT. It is very easy to give people a starting point, and we will absolutely go over that with, here's a great start point.
Fantastic. April 16th. Come on, hear us there. So if you take nothing else from today, you have learned that it doesn't take more time. It doesn't take more money. It doesn't take a bigger network. It takes the proper tools. And if you use AI correctly, it is going to totally reduce your time in finding these deals, and it will be a powerful tool for you to use in your real estate investing journey. So if you want to learn more on how we teach our students on how Ken is thinking, check out our real estate wealth mastery program on our website, edu.branchwealthpartners.com, and stay tuned. And we will see you next time on Branching Out. See you later.